Okay, you want to know about entrepreneurs? I wanted to know myself about the statistics of what we know. So I went on AI today about the statistics of startups and entrepreneurs in the United States and globally, and also Vietnam, because a lot of people know that I'm high on Vietnam. And I'm going to give you some highlights. First of all, I asked a question about, what's the percentage of entrepreneurs in the United States? And they called it entrepreneurship activities. 16% of the United States are involved with entrepreneur activities. That would include me. Okay? How many startups a day approximately? 137,000 in the United States. About 50 million annually globally. Average age of a entrepreneur startup is 42 to 45 in the United States. Listen to that, 42 to 45. How old are you? Are you employed right now? Are you in PE? Are you in, what I mean by PE is private equity? Have you lost your job, with the white collar recession going on right now? And it's basically stagnant after COVID. People started up their own business. They call it side hustles because a lot of them didn't really act on formulating an organization. Now, 1 million startups in the United States is approximately 5 million people. So 4 to 5 employees, okay? I didn't ask about, we all know about successes. Successes is you really 50% fail within 5 years. Then it goes higher, and I think it's only 10% after 7 years that survive, okay? So I asked a question about college kids, teenagers, and so on, because the word is, I want to be an entrepreneur. It was interesting. 41% of the U.S. teenagers, their career path will be entrepreneurial based. They didn't want to work for anybody. What was really interesting was 61% of that number is teenage girls. 61% of teenage girls would prefer a career path of small business, a startup, an entrepreneur. 54% boys prefer to do their own business, entrepreneurial activities. But here's the actual results. Those are all wish lists, hopes, and so on. 6% actually took action, and that wasn't girls. It was boys. 4% girls. 4% girls. Of that 61%, only 4% actually took action and started formulating an entrepreneurial activity or a plan. 6% boys. So 76% of teens combined hoped to be social media influencers. 16%. So that's what they want. But here's the stat that I know, and this is all U.S. based. The number that I know is there's 115 million YouTube channels, for an example. 115 million. And 95% do not carry on after 6 months. They don't become monetized. They don't look at it as a business. They quit after 6 months. It's hard because I know I'm in it. I run it like a business. I've been pretty fortunate because I got 50 years and 71 years of content, of stories. And the people that listen to me are looking for mentorship. They're looking for ideas, advice, help. Most of it, mentorship. Rock helped me. And I would say of these high percentage of entrepreneur people, they're really not listening to the elders. That's the unique situation that I had. I was always curious. And I always surrounded myself with elderly people. Why? Because that was my foundation. My grandparents, my father, those were my influencers. And what I observed was hard work. That's the bottom line. My grandparents were immigrants. It was all hard work, man. There was no money. My father had the same work ethic, but he invested everything. And don't forget, we had 11 children. So can you imagine why our family was built on faith, family, and food? Which meant you got to work. So where I'm at on my YouTube and my TikTok, to give you a heads up, I'm in the top 5% right now of that 115 million channels after 9 months. Why? Because I invest in it. I have a strategy, I have intent, I look at it as a business. I have a team of editors, I have a team of graphic artists, I have a team that posts. I have people working on the game plan. We talk every month. Here's our milestones. We have the software to analyze and evaluate everything we do. Now, I have the luxury that I could self-fund this. Most kids don't have that money. They don't have that understanding. And a lot of them just don't want to go out and work. Now, I'm not saying our kids are lazy. I'm just saying that you need an opportunity. But a lot of it comes from your family, your foundation, the opportunities, and you can't count on your parents. And I have a lot of friends that their kids, their married kids, their adult children have asked for money. Asked for money for divorces, for lawyers. They've asked for money for health. They've asked for money for real estate, investment. And I'll tell you something. As a parent, it really hurts when you say no. I've been asked to co-sign. I won't co-sign. Why would I not co-sign? I would not co-sign because my parents told me never co-sign for anything or anyone. Now, have I given money? Yes. Contributions. Never expected to get it back, and I didn't. So all the money that I give to my kids and my grandkids and my their tuitions, their colleges, or whatever it is, our high schools, their sports, it was all just hard work that Dad put together. Not Mom, Dad. I was the breadwinner, and I was single parent. It was all up to me. Food. I have kids that went out and worked to buy their first cars because they know I would support that. So I taught them well. Now, would I ever ask my kids for money? No. I would go without before I'd ask. My father taught me when I bought my first business, he says, and I asked him for a loan. And he said, no, don't you have friends at the bank? I said, yeah, friends at the bank. He says, well, go talk to them. And that's when I found out I had no friends. Go ahead and laugh. It's true. And back in the 80s and 90s, the banks used to call it the 5 C's. You have to meet the 5 C's in commercial. It was credibility, it was commitment, it was cash, it was collateral. It was the 5 C's. Today there's only 1 C called collateral. That's it. And if you don't have the collateral, that's why you have to go out and get funds. Go get money. Go ask for money. We were brought up, no. You want to do something? And by the way, Rock, this was told, my father told me this. We were in St. Paul driving over the High Bridge. My father said, if you want to jump off the High Bridge in any endeavor or business or alcohol or picking the wrong horse, you jump off by yourself. And if you could do a deal alone, that's what to do. Don't bring in a partner. He learned having partners from his past of having multiple partners. And if you can't make a decision, you can't make a decision. And he says, because a partner could betray you and push you off the High Bridge, and you're dead. Okay, now, this is bad shit. It's bad shit. It's not easy to be an entrepreneur. I talk about it, and here's the other thing. Being an entrepreneur and not getting the support, if you're married, it's even worse if your spouse doesn't buy in. Because you are sacrificing everything. You're taking all the risk yourself. And if you don't tell your spouse that we're in deep shit, we're filing bankruptcy, we're doing this, we're doing that, it's terrible. So I understand how risky it is. That's the reason why once I sold my first business where I had a partner, I went alone ever since. I had no other partner except once during those 50 years. I had 2 bad partners. And they were wives, spouses. I made a mistake. I picked the wrong horse, and I had to pay. And the only support I got was alimony. So that drove me to be successful. That was my first obligation. Not a home. I rented. My wives had homes. I had to pay. I paid for them, and then I had to support them all the way. So when I talk to these young kids now, I ask them, are you married? Do you have a spouse? Do you have children? how in the hell are you going to be an entrepreneur and you're going to jump off the high bridge with them? So I am not concentrating on the United States. And I will tell you this. I know a lot of people that are over 45 that are in the white collar recession and they don't get it. They don't understand. To be an entrepreneur takes a lot of risk and they're not in that position to do it. They're just not. And they spent 25 years of working for somebody. It's hard to do if you're making $300,000-$400,000. And today's average pay, these kids are getting over $100,000 a year, and it's paycheck to paycheck. How are you going to accumulate money to start up a business where the bank's going to say, well, how much do you have? Do you think $100,000 is going to cut it with even a franchise now? These franchises don't give a shit. So here you buy yourself into a franchise. They sell you the book of goods, per se. You got inventory. You need a facility. You need fees. And then at the end of the day, even if they set it up for you, you still have to make payroll. And then with payroll, they get a percentage, a royalty or a commission off every month of your gross sales. It's a stupid plan, man. And how are you going to get credibility when you got to go buy supplies? Look at about supply chain. Look what's going on in this world today. And the entrepreneurs of today that spent 40 years, 50 years building a business, it's worse than COVID because nobody wants to buy their business today. And the kids don't want it. The kids, whatever you built, they just want the fucking money. And most parents I know, it's the carrot and the stick. They're not going to get any money. And the kids just spent 20, 25 years helping their parents build a business. And the parents could get a divorce. Then that split up. And then I've seen it all. I've seen it all. That's why I'm concentrating on Vietnam. I'm going to give you some stats on Vietnam. Vietnam had about 110 million people. Okay? The size of the state of Minnesota. I'm talking about square footage. Now, prior to 2019, the statistics are less than, basically 5% of their population was entrepreneurial. Okay? And don't forget, it's really first generation after what they call the American War. We call the Vietnam War. Now, after 2022, their formation has rose from that 5% to 32% is entrepreneurial segments. Now, you have to understand, I started getting into Vietnam after I left Japan, and I basically semi-retired when I got to the point where I achieved everything I wanted to financially. I was about 70. I said, okay, enough is enough. I got enough to live. My kids are all successful. They're not going to ask for me for money. I'm not going to help them with money. Don't need to. I'm doing the same wisdom that my parents gave me. I'm giving that to my children and the grandkids. Okay? And by the way, they pick their own spouses. I'm done. And they got their own foundations. And I know what it's like being married. I mean, come on. Now, what's important now is what they call Resolution 68. It just passed in May of 2025. And it's an incentive in Vietnam for 2030. Their goal is 85% of their GDP is going to be private segment business, enterprises. They are pushing what I would call Reaganomics, like we received in the United States in the 80s. And my father, and I saw that. And then I saw what Trump is doing, okay, with manufacturing and regulations and cut out the red tape, all these things. Those are all huge incentives, man. They have over 900,000 businesses in Vietnam to date. Their goal is 2 million privately held businesses in 2030. We're only talking about 4.5 years. And their GDP has grown over 32% since 2022. So they're basically trying to double their GDP. And I think they're doing it because they see what Trump's doing. They think the tariffs and the strategies and their clients are not only United States, they got Russia, they got the Arab countries, they got China, of course, they got Japan, they got Taiwan. Singapore, in their efforts, their expertise, their education is basically science, technology, engineering, and money. Yeah. Materials, resources. And here's the kicker. Our average age of entrepreneurs, startups, is at 40, 45. Theirs is 20s to 30s, early 30s. This is back in my day. This is why I'm all pumped up about Vietnam. In fact, what did I do now? I invested in emerging markets in the stock market because I see it going like this. Yes, Asia is where it's going. That's why we outsource to them. But they are really creating the opportunity for a tremendous manufacturing operations because of their people, because of their drive, because of their resources. They have tremendous resources. And their population is growing because they're having babies, and babies. They're pro-life. They want babies. They know how all these wars over the last, 100, 200,000 years, that they lost their mothers and their fathers and their ancestry. Now they're all about family values, and so on. Now, I asked the question of what else do they have? Number one, they're younger. They're more optimistic, of course. They serve. They know how to serve. Their hospitality is off the chart when I went out there. And that's the vibe I felt. And now it's given me the opportunity that 85% GDP, the other 15, 20% is going to be foreign direct investment in Vietnam. Big companies to source, to build their operations like the 3Ms and who's the big, the electronic companies, SpaceX, Elon Musk is putting billions of dollars in there. And the Trump family business has just invested over $1 billion in Hanoi and also Ho Chi Minh City. Even though they're communist/socialist, they're capitalistic. Believe me. They're going to grow, and they're going to go from a lower class. They're going to bypass the middle class to be rich. They're going to be tremendous. They've grown. They've already, I think their GDP's in the high 30s right now of all countries. And they're growing in leaps and bounds. Okay? Now, why else would they recommend this to the younger people? Well, first of all, their family businesses are generational. They've been working as a contract manufacturer for countries and exports all these years. Now, with the new tariffs and all the stuff going on, they're saying, you know what? Why aren't we domestically, like the United States, like Trump is trying to do, bring in manufacturing for ourselves and have the United States buy U.S.-made product? They're doing that over there. And their infrastructure is the problem because they haven't really sorted that out. And so now they're working with Russia. They're working with the Arabs to put in high supersonic trains and the infrastructure because they're building. Manufacturing. It's going to be huge. E-commerce, digital. They're fucking kicking ass, man. That's why I'm all excited because I could mentor these kids. They're willing to listen, but they need the opportunity. And they're not going to get it from the second relation or the foundation because the foundation, they were at war. Their grandparents and their parents were at war. So they need help. They got the education. They got the opportunity, but they need people like me to help them and to invest with them because I trust them. I know it's not going to be for very long, but I'd love to be able to help somebody for 5-10 years. I'm going to have some fun. I'm going to see the growth, and I'll pass it on. I know who I'm dealing with, and I see the market. The market is unbelievable, and they're very loyal to their people, you know? They're a happy people. Now, the other thing that AI said, which doesn't surprise me, it says, United States is comfortable, where Vietnam is on fire. What they mean by that is, where Vietnam is where the United States was in the 80s. This is why I call it Reaganomics 3.0. Because of resolution, by the way, 68 And there's a Resolution 57, which is all about technology and digital advancements. Yeah. So they're hungry, they're optimistic, and they think global. They're a peaceful country. They've had enough war, okay? So I learn something every day. And when I talk to people every day, I open up a dialogue. Coffee shops, meeting with people. I look on LinkedIn and I'm like, oh my God, it's so sad. LinkedIn is now becoming Facebook. You know, they're putting, instead of saying, you know, I'm looking for work, they're all trying to sell something. Everybody's trying to sell something. They're not coming up with solutions. They're not even identifying where the problem is. And they're sitting at home in their pajamas. You got to get boots on the ground like Trump. Get the boots on the ground. Why do you think he travels so much? He's there. And that's what I've been doing in my 50 years. I was always on the road, always in the air. Now I'm like reducing it, saying, okay, I want to adopt some of these hungry kids that are ready to rock and roll. It's just like sports. You got I'm going to give you an example. NHL. I love the NHL. I love hockey. I'm a St. Paul, Minnesota guy. I don't even like the Wild. You know why? They don't pick the right players and they don't have the right chemistry. I don't care if they got the right money or not. Doesn't matter. You come here to Florida, they got the right coach, the right GM, the right owner. They weren't considered big market. And what do? They're in the third Stanley Cup in a row, and they keep taking pieces to make sure the chemistry. Can you imagine being the player that was either traded or didn't make the cut? That's got to be really bad. And then they bring in people that you would never think would help the team, and guess what? The chemistry's even stronger and better. And that's what world champions do. That's what Trump's trying to do. When he was 45, he picked the wrong people. But he didn't know the game. Now he knows the game. And he's picking, and look at the people he's got. Youth, entrepreneurial, business backgrounds, military strategies. He doesn't play games. And that's the way you should be. But it's always the long game. So my thought here is, listen, I'm going back to LinkedIn, and I'm looking at these guys 45 and over that are white-collar recession, and I know who they are because I get a lot of requests through recruiters. Rock, who do you know? I wouldn't hire 95% of these people. And that's why this recruiter can't find enough talent for people to be hired. That's why they're taking risk at a 3-year experience guy. And by the way, minimum salary now is, I would say, $200,000 for a customer service person that's got experience in my world, which is printing and so on. And there's only two things people are looking for. Employers are looking for a book of business, sales. They're going to protect what they bought because a lot of them are buying M&A activities. That's how they're growing, but now they're stuck because now you're talking about, supply chain, you're talking about pricing, you're talking about tariffs, you're talking about competition. Competition is fierce all over the world, and they're making it happen, man. Okay? The other thing is non-competes are a problem for these guys that are let go for whatever reason. Yeah. Then you got relocation. Nobody wants to be relocated today unless you're single and you're 12 years old. I mean, seriously. This is why you're not seeing some of these kids go to college. They're going to technical school or they're starting up businesses. And they're going to learn through their parents or through somebody, mentorship or whatever, a guy like Rock. That's what coaches do. Coaches make you better. And if you can't cut it, you get traded. And the other thing that these 45 plus guys, which is really big, is compensation. Figure you're going to get cut by 50 to 70%. And a lot of these guys just want benefits. And if you didn't take care of your kids and didn't send them to college and didn't kick them in the ass, tell them to get out of the house. Hey, what about husband and wife? They're talking about, what are you, lazy? Well, might as well get a divorce. It's better. I know guys that say, listen, Rock, I'm still married because it's cheaper to keep her. Well, in business, you can't say that. I see more liquidations than I see a for sale sign. There might be a for sale sign, but they're not going to sell. It's going to be a liquidation in parts. Today's market is worse than COVID. And if they did not think twice and be strategic and sell 3-5 years ago, bad news. So who are you going to bet on? What horse are you going to bet on? United States? Your kids? Your brothers and sisters? Come on. My father always used to say, just make sure you take care of yourself. Because if you take care of yourself, you could actually help others. If you didn't take care of yourself, you're fucking complaining. All these excuses. And let's face it. Either you're stagnant, you're content, you're a loser. And it's tough to take risk when you're older. And I'll tell you, guys that are over 60, they're all betting on that Social Security, man. And Social Security is a big thing. I'm a person that recommends, even if you got let go, I've seen it. Let go, you can't get a job, it's been 2 years, you get depressed, you start drinking, go through a divorce, your spouse is fucking around, your kids think you're a loser, your kids are asking you for money. I know guys that went to Target and worked on a forklift with an MBA and making good money, and then all of a sudden it's over. Yeah, eventually, like my father would say, eventually everything comes to an end, including life. That's why I'm so charged up, is because for 50 years I've seen opportunities. The only thing going for me now is physically I can't do this shit. But I'm going to bet. I'm going to bet on the stock market. I'm going to bet on Vietnam. By the way, my strategy, don't own anything. I'm not going to own a home. I'm not going to own a car. I'm not going to be married. Nope. My dad always used to say, cash is king. Well, guess what? Cash is king. When you got cash, you can make opportunities. But I'm at the point in my life where I got enough. The only thing I want is my health right now. That's all I want is my health and be able to teach and coach and so on. And this is fun, my YouTube channel, because it's going to be evergreen, and my grandkids they're all going to know who Papa Rock was. And I have a book too. My memoir is called They Named You Right. And I have a second book coming out soon. But I'm not here to promote that. I'm here to say, listen, you better start thinking about what's going on, man. And here's the other thing. We're going into the third quarter. If you haven't, that's the other thing I learned from my mentors is, if you haven't hit your milestones by Easter, you got a bad year. And guess what? There's a lot of bad years going on. And it's not going to get any better if you don't reinvest in people, because people run businesses, not the boss. The boss don't run the business. The boss doesn't even know what's going on. The boss is all worried about their finances and their retirement. During COVID, I said, because I was in mergers and acquisitions and buy a business broker and so on, I said there's only 3 things that people are thinking about right now. They're thinking about selling the business, so they cared about themselves, number one. Oh, I don't want to die, and I got this business, I got this building, I got this. I got 20 employees, I got 50 employees, I got 100 employees. Number 2, they think about their families. They think about their wife, their kids, or their grandkids, or whatever. So they're all looking at their net worth, their personal net worth. They call that PM, personal money. And number 3, they revert back to number 1. Themselves. I've had clients where I say, Rock, I want another $1 million so I could share that with my employees. I only know 2 people that share their net worth with their employees. And I've done many deals. It's actually sad, because I was brought up where my parents were generous and they were faithful to God, and that was their background, And the reason for it is because they were brought up during the Depression. The Depression does things to you, or when you're hungry. How many times did I go to bed worried about payroll, worried about the future, worried about going bankrupt? Seriously, many times. People don't know that. And you're alone. You can't share that. You can't. How are you going to share that? You're going to lose your top people. So I was always honest with my people, loyal, trustworthy. Have people left because they look for better opportunities when they could see there's a problem here, Rock. I got to take care of my family. Yes. I've had those discussions too. Cried together, hold, hug, everything. I'll never forget it. And so I experienced the buy side, the sell side. I've talked bankruptcy to attorneys. I've talked strategy of liquidation. It never happened because I had good coaches. And then you know what? I was lucky. I think I'm not only blessed, but I've been lucky. And that's been a story of mine talking to people when I was in my 20s and 30s. How'd you do it? How did you make it? Oh, Rock, these are greatest generation guys. I was lucky. And I never believed it. I said, how can you be lucky? You had to be smart. It's not smart. It's lucky, man. It's lucky. I don't know what's going to happen. But I'll tell you this. I'll keep going. And I'd rather die happy than worried about my cash register. And I was also brought up where you save for a rainy day. You live amongst your means and you give back. And God gave me the opportunity to start my career in my early 20s. So I've played the long game and I've been there. My dad's going to be 100. Very similar. That's why I've respected him and others that I know. But understand this, only 16% are entrepreneurs. It doesn't say how many are successful. It's just like anything else. The super rich is what, 1%? If you're wealthy, to 10% on. And who are the wealthiest people in the world? Entrepreneurs. They took the risk. It's not easy. So I'm trying to influence my followers, especially in Vietnam, because they don't really watch YouTube. They're into TikTok real heavy and e-commerce real heavy. So I'm trying to work a strategy out that they have to learn English also, because English is the global language of business. Even though they say, Rock, you got to speak and translate into Vietnamese. No, I don't. You got to read English. You got to know how to communicate with English. I know it's their secondary language. I mean, they start in kindergarten. Do we start another language in the United States? No. And I'm terrible at English alone, so I can't teach it, you know? So, yeah, this is a long one, but I'm trying to get it going to the point where you just don't turn on a dime and you're an entrepreneur. No. It's a lot of pain. It's a lot of people that are involved. You have to really hire great people. You can have a mentor that won't charge you a dime. We call that a nonprofit relationship. And I've had quite a few of them, but I've had probably more professional advisors where I had to pay, and I could justify all of it, including therapy, by the way, So I just wanted to talk about, I'm talking to people. I'm trying to get it out there about, listen, we're going in the third quarter. It's a bitch. And if you really just sit back and think you're going to get hired and things are going to change via tariffs, via new owner, via seller, no. You got to think for yourself. You got to be strategic, intentional, and you got to take risks. That's it. I'm going to add, in my case, prayer. I prayed a lot. Cried a lot, alone. I'm not going to be able to pay for this house. I'm not going to be able to raise these kids. Oh, I'm going through a divorce. I'm single. And I got alimony, child support, and raise my kids. Yeah. So, yeah, I got tired after 50 years, but I hit those goals. I wanted a 50-year career, which has continued on. I wanted to be a millionaire. I achieved that. And I wanted to pay all my bills. I wanted to be a person of integrity. I wanted my parents to be proud of me. I wanted to do the right thing. I want my kids to be proud of me. I want my grandkids to be proud of me. And I want to go to heaven. Yeah. Those are all goals. And I don't want to stop. And now I'm going to, what I call, adopt other people that I could help. So I am making a difference. And by the way, YouTube, I'm making a difference. TikTok, I'm making a difference. I love it when somebody says, Rock, this helped me a lot. I got articles. I got books. I'm talking about publications. And I like my life. And thank God I'm healthy at this point. So anyway, this is it, kids. Think about it. I know it's a long, long video, but my editors, I hope they cut the shit out of it and kind of highlight it. Because I'm trying to get that monetization soon. I want to be in that 1 percentile of less than a year. Help me. The only way you could help me is just keep listening, commenting, sharing. But that's the key. And come back and listen to it again. And either a like, down, a comment. If I could help other people, do it. Okay? So I'll talk to you soon. God bless you. I truly appreciate everyone listening to me. Because I am not the smartest guy in the room. I'm just the most experienced. Okay? I'll talk to you soon. God bless.